All right, guys. Well, good, happy Thursday morning, and I'm going to apologize right away. If you see me squinting, I forgot my contacts this morning, so I'm like, we have notes over here because we gotta want to talk about and get you guys some great information, and I might be doing this. So obviously, grit is our big topic this week, and simple definition: grit equals mental toughness. Yes, it equals a lot of other things, but grit equals mental toughness. We mentioned this the other day. One of the biggest correlations that has been found through research is grit is often best cultivated with a growth mindset. So what is a growth mindset? So again, this goes down to that researcher Carol Dweck we mentioned the other day. Fantastic amount of research there, really great stuff. And especially for if you ever work with youngsters, so some of the stuff I'm going to talk about today, so profoundly powerful with helping them set their mindset. Because the way you approach things is generally more important than how you approach things. So, growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Growth mindset, generally defined by people who believe that hard work, good strategy, and absorbing input from others is the most important thing to moving forward. There's a fixed mindset of people who are born with it. Skills and talents are innate. You were born with them. They're immutable. They don't largely change over time. Maybe sharpen up a little bit. But Michael Jordan's a great basketball player because he was born that way. Michael Jordan will tell you that's crap because the story goes Michael Jordan tried out for his freshman basketball team and didn't make the cut. So clearly, that work ethic is what made the difference. Larry Bird, I've seen, again, basketball being a thing, just sometimes sports is the easiest way to think about this, but Larry Bird would talk a lot about at the end of a game, especially if they lost, he would go and practice for an hour. Everybody else at the end of a game would go the ice bath or whatever else. Larry would go spend an hour practicing, and he said oftentimes, because the great rivalry was Magic and Larry, and he was like, I assumed on the other side of the country Magic was putting in an extra hour practicing too, so I had to put in an extra hour in practicing to make sure I got ahead of that guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, listen, what's that? Tom Brady's another fantastic example of that, right? There's a lot of that in sports. There's a lot of that in people who are, experiential in terms of their skill level or their acknowledgement, right? Bill Gates is known as one of the first great computer programmers, and the story goes apparently he would sneak out of his house at night. There was one computer in the town library or town school resource or something like that. So he would sneak out of his house at night to go program because he was so fascinated by it. So he's got hundreds and thousands of hours of programming before most people do. Really interesting. Some that whole 10,000 hour things is not exactly accurate, but there's some really interesting stuff there. There's another book, I'll share a link on that if you guys are curious about more. So we're going to talk a little bit. I pulled 3, Allison pulled 3 of ways to help you develop that growth mindset. Some of mine are going to be a little bit focused on language and self-talk, and that's going to be really important, especially, like I said, especially if you work with youngsters in any way, shape, or form, or you really feel like you could improve your own mindset on this. So number 1 is to value the process over the end result. For my American friends, the most common question I get is, well, how long does it take to get a black belt? And I'm like, I don't know. There's no real answer to that, right? So in Jiu-Jitsu, it takes as long as it takes. And frankly, it's just a belt. The black belt means almost nothing. Skills, as a lot of our students are realizing as they're coming back to the mat from COVID, are depreciable. You sat at home on your ass for 6 months. You didn't get 6 months better. You didn't stay the same. You got 6 months worse. So the process, the continuous motion, the continuous forward momentum is really everything that matters in this. Who cares? Oh, I got my black belt. Now I'm a black belt. But are you staying a black belt? Are you putting the work in? Are you putting the time in? And frankly, the value is not the belt. The value is the journey along the way there. That's where you make good friendships. That's where you make good memories. That's where your skills are developed and grown. Do you want to go A, B, kick
Sure.
on? Yep.
Acknowledge and embrace imperfections. So I definitely need to work on this one specifically.
We all do.
And I think it's just like a human natural thing. Nobody likes to be bad at something or have an imperfection. I'm one of those people that like things need to be perfect all the time, and like I'm more afraid of like getting in trouble for not doing something perfect than to like admit like I made a mistake. So that I picked that one because it's something that I always need to remind myself that it's okay to have imperfections. It's okay not to be perfect. It's okay to have to maybe take a couple steps back or look at the big picture of things, which is very hard for me to do sometimes as well. So I picked that one mainly as like a reminder to myself. As far as that growth mindset, nobody's perfect, and trying to be perfect is also just, you know, something that is not going to be beneficial either. So acknowledging the imperfections, trying to work on just maybe making those stronger. But I also try to do things that like I'm either not comfortable at or I'm not good at, because it does kind of make me, like we were talking about taking cold showers, right? Like if you do something that you're not good at or not comfortable with, then it kind of just helps that growth mindset as well.
Did you take a cold shower?
Yesterday I had to, because my water wasn't working.
Ah, okay. So
But
the default
I did,
cold shower.
I did.
Did you
But,
survive?
Like,
Did you die?
survive. But like little things like I kissed an alligator.
Yeah.
Like terrified of alligators. I mean, it was like 3 feet, but like still.
Hey, listen.
an alligator.
Baby alligators take off fingers,
Oh
so.
my God, the eyes on the outside just like zoom in. It's creepy.
All right, so my number 2, guys, is emphasizing growth over speed. Sometimes you make big leaps and bounds in your progress. Sometimes you make tiny little, like, oh, I picked up a little something, or I sucked just a little bit less today than I did yesterday, okay? That's huge. Again, I talked a little bit about how, like, my American friends are like, well, how long to, one of the conversations I have had many times over the years is, well, how long before he tests for yellow belt? How long before she tests for yellow belt? I'm like, who cares? If they're getting better, what's the difference? And then the follow-up to that one is, well, his friend tested for yellow belt, he's falling behind. No, this is his learning process. This is his or her learning journey. There is no falling behind yourself. I'm not in a race with Allison to get to a certain point. There's no finish line on growth in your life. You know, if you have like literally you're running a race, obviously there's a defined finish line. But it's arbitrary made up bullshit. 26.2 miles, what does that actually mean? It doesn't mean anything. It's based on something from pre-calendar day 0, right? It doesn't actually mean anything. We assume it's 26.2. It doesn't mean anything. So the reality in life is everything is forward growth. How fast or slow that happens is way less important than the fact that growth happens.
So view challenges as opportunities. We were talking about this with my family the other day, and how when I bought my first car, it was kind of one of those really big purchases that you make as like, I think I was like 19 or maybe 20. And it's one of those big purchases you make, and one of the challenges is paying for that car and not, you know, making every single payment. Even like I ended up paying it off earlier. So it's one of those things where that now is going to be a challenge, but rising to that challenge. So I maybe had to pick up a couple extra hours somewhere at work, or just to be able to make money. Then I bought a house. So now it's like, all right, well now I've got to afford the house, the car, all the bills. So it's like one of those things where, yes, sometimes over the last, I don't know, 5 years of owning the house, my finances have been up and down, and every single time I've been able to push past like certain challenges and make opportunities, which kind of gives me more, I guess, confidence in that I'm able to rise to the level of challenge and provide myself with more opportunities. Earning my black belt was a challenge that opened up more opportunities, right? Like, so there are many different things that you can look at in different ways that have presented as challenges that will either open up opportunities for you. Right now, I'm trying to get more photo clients, so different opportunities have been approaching. Yes, it's challenging and trying to, you know, work or promote or things like this, but it'll open up more avenues of opportunity, which I think is pretty cool.
100%. In the English language, I've been told many times that the worst word in the English language starts with letter C, ends with letter T. You're never allowed to say this word, ever, ever, ever. And we tell that word to the kids here all the time. You're not allowed to say the word can't. What were you guys thinking? Get that out of here. It's not the word from the boys, not that one. That's a whole other word. That word's fine, okay? The word can't will limit you. So let me erase that from your language completely. I can't do this. I can't blah, blah, blah. Nope, let's get rid of that one, guys. Yet. I'm not able to yet. I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't hit my goal yet. Yet is more powerful than that CT word. Can't. Can't is no longer allowed in your vernacular, your verbiage, your daily mindset. I can't do that. Please be comfortable with saying, I won't. If you make a decision, if you make a choice, I won't do that. Be responsible for it. I cannot tell you how many times I want to slap people across the face when they say, well, you know, I want to, but I can't. No, you don't actually want to. I have never wanted something in my life and not figured out a way to eventually get it done. So if you want to, you will figure that out. Yet is a really powerful way of looking at moving forward, moving along to your goals. And that C word, you're not allowed to use it anymore.
The last one for me is try different learning tactics.
You're off Instagram.
Sorry.
There you go.
Is try different learning tactics. So I'm dyslexic. I have had a learning disability. I've had an IEP all the way up through. Actually, high school was kind of it for me. In middle school.
High school was it?
So in middle school, yeah. So in middle
school.
school, they put me on an IEP in elementary school, different ways to take the MCAS and all this stuff, and through middle school, and I just like I didn't want that going into high school. I said I don't want to be on an IEP in high school. And I was like, well, you got to work really hard. I said okay. So we ended up. I worked so hard. They were like, she's made such good progress. Ended up off the IEP in high school, which was great. I did have to get a couple of tutors and things like that for little like tricks of the trade, as far as like people that do understand how to teach somebody with dyslexia, and somebody gives them different tricks to learn in a public school. So learning different tactics for me was a must. It's one of those things where like I look at an analog clock, I couldn't tell you what time it is, and that's still to this day. Like there are just certain things like that I still work on, but it's very difficult. Anything language, like I'll write notes up on the board and I'll think it's a different word. So when I go back and read the notes, it's like a completely different, I'm like, what was I trying to do? So learning different tactics on how to succeed in school. I tend to be more of a auditory learner, more than reading. If I read something, I have to read it again and again and again and again, and probably like 8 or 9 times before I actually comprehend what I'm actually reading. Where if I listen to something, it tends to get there much faster, and I tend to pick it up much faster when I learn. So now I've been trying to do more audible books and things like that. So the technology is great because I can read something and then go find a video on YouTube, or I can kind of pare it down with some of the different learning tactics that I've used, especially trying to get my master's degree. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is reading and comprehending, and then figuring it out. It's a psychology degree, so it's
it's all figuring it out.
It's all figuring it out for yourself, which is part of the thing that I like about it. But at the same time, having to learn these different tactics on how to do math or how to read or so my whole life has been trying to figure out different learning tactics with different subjects.
Very cool. So we're already very long in this video, guys, so we're going to get a quick warm-up in here. But again, tomorrow we have some more of these growth mindset working points. We'll talk more about these on Friday. Thursday, let's get moving, shall we? Quick warm-up.
Jumping jacks. jogging. Shake out those arms. Okay, I'll throw some punches here. Kicks. Good. High knees.
High knee. Apparently everything's running today.
Butt kicks. All right, big forward shoulder circles. Backwards. Crisscrosses.
Just a quick morning wake up.
Hips.
Hands on the hips. All right, guys, big circles.
Other direction as well. Okay. Do you want to do a couple or go right to breathe?
No, it's already 7:20. Let's go to our breathing. So, guys, box breathing as a technique. It's a 4-count breath. You breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, you hold for 4. I'm going to guide you guys through this, okay? So I recommend closing your eyes, focus on the breathing act itself, let everything else go away in your day, all right? So breathe everything out, breathe in through your nose, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath at the top, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath at the bottom, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in through your nose, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath at the top, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth, 2, 3, 4. Hold to the bottom, 2, 3, 4. On your own, guys, keep that breathing up for another 30 seconds or so. This is one of my preferred ways of dealing with social media. When I'm like annoyed by something and I'm like, I should write a response. Do one full 16-second breath cycle and be like, do I really need to write that response? Do I really need to put that post up? I don't think so. I'll just zen my way out of here.
You know what I do? I just keep scrolling. It doesn't hurt at all. It's
That's the breathing. That's what the breathing is.
one of those things.
All right, guys, so we'll finish up with big breath in, big breath out. Good. All right, so Thursday, we call it Leadership Thursday here at the Academy. We have our Ninja Coaching, Little Ninjas class on the mat. We have our BBC and leadership classes physically here and both on Zoom for our youngsters. We have our kickboxing on demand classes, so get in touch with us about those. And there's actually, I'm sorry you guys can't see it at home, Allison might put a picture of it later. There's actual artwork.
Oh, yeah,
With
yeah.
today's dad joke. So today's dad joke actually is artwork attached.
I can try to add a picture.
Allison we'll put that on the Facebook, on the Academy story afterwards.
Okay, perfect. All right, so why did the coffee go to the police? It got mugged.
And for those who can't see it at home, there's actually a coffee mug attached to it. So.
So you have like a little kid.
All right, guys, go get your Thursday moving. Let's go.